सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। May all pervading, all blissful divine spirit protect us all. May He guide and nourish us all. May the teachings we receive become forceful and fruitful in our lives through His grace. May peace and harmony dwell amongst us all. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum nandayate giri yat kripatamaham vande paramanandamadhavam. Salutation to the Supreme Being who manifested in and through Bhagwan Sri Krishna, the very embodiment of sweetness and bliss, whose very thought is an inspiration and whose grace makes us take up and achieve is seemingly impossible. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today we shall take up some 6 verses from 49 onwards. Durena Shavaram Karma Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya Buddhau Sharanamanviccha Rupana Kalahetavaha Buddhi Yukto Jahatiha Ubhe Shrutadushkrute Tasmad Yogaya Yujyasva Yoga Karma Sukausalam Karmajam buddhi yuktahi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchantanamayam yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati sada gantasi nidvedam shrotau yasya sutasya cha Shruti vipratipannaate yada sthāsyati niccala samadha vachala buddhihi tada yogamavapsyati. You find all these 5 verses which I shall deal one by one with a proper introduction. They all deal with the main theme, namely that as we are constituted, we have to act, we have to engage in action, but that should be done with the best of purposes and should yield the best result. And we find there is nothing for man higher than the acquisition of spiritual knowledge, which takes him to his own glorious divinity, the divine self, and incidentally makes him fully free and brings with him lasting peace and bliss. So we find true to a scripture, it continuously brings home these points in a variety of ways. there is a constant repetition from one angle or the other, which is very important, because however much we are told, we tend to forget. Therefore, it is just hammered home from various directions and later riveted also. And we may be so clever as to escape all these and still break loose, you see, and we say we shall not be wise. I am reminded of an instance where a factory had a lot of accidents. Therefore, they said we shall have a situation where nobody will get injured. Usually the hand used to get injured. So they said we should make a foolproof arrangement when nobody will be injured in any way. Now, after 2 days, one fellow came with his hand in bad day. So they said, what has happened? Injured in the machine. But they say it was foolproof. He laughed and said, but I showed them it was not foolproof. So you find there may be people who, in spite of all these things, they may set their own independent path. As we say, hats off to them, but we shall belong to the less heroic variety. Now we are all spiritual aspirants or devotees, and we want to do, or we are trying to do some sadhana. That is, we want to strive for a better life. We want to progress as far as possible towards an ideal which we may call as perfection. Now this sadhana, or striving for perfection, comprises a couple of factors, 2 elements. One is the means, the other the end. And both are important at their own level. But in the overall and the final evaluation, what we call the end, which is the goal to be achieved, naturally remains supreme. Because later we find the means will have to be left behind. However important for the time being it may be, it will have to be left later. Like so many of the vehicles, including some of the so-called extremely costly billion-dollar space vehicles, they will have to be jettisoned, just let go. We find in our own tradition, coming down to other levels. When we worship, in many cases, either a Vinayaka or more important, in Durga Puja, unless we have got into a modern constriction, if you follow the traditional path, the image is made beautifully in clay. Then so much of love and attention and even money is spent on it. It is worth it. Later on, we find it is taken to the water and dissolved. That is not at all kept as a permanent thing, because you are supposed to develop knowledge and love and the presence of the divine being in your own heart through that. That becomes disposable, however much important and glorious for the time being it may be. That is the means and something else is the end. So we find a right appreciation of the significance of both of these. For the time being, means is very important. As Swami Vivekananda would say, forget the end, then once the means is fixed, and then go ahead. Then later, equally so, forget the means also. Therefore, a right appreciation of the significance of both of these, and also a right use of both of these, and then going beyond what we call the means at the right moment, timing important. That characterizes a successful man of action. Many times the secret of success can be find. What is that? Right appreciation and right utilization and right giving of all. This is called as kaushala, kushalata, dexterity, cleverness, you may use any term. Therefore, to be unfailingly devoted to the ideal, which is the end, and at the same time, or meanwhile, being absorbed in the means, and when the purpose is achieved, to let go the means completely and be lost in the ideal, that is the secret. You find in our Upanishad, one simile is given. It says, Pranavo dhanu charohi atma. Pranavaji, Om mantra is the bow. And then the Atma, the individual self, is the arrow. Brahma Sandaksha Muchyate, the infinite being, is the object. What he has to do? He has to be fully concentrated, fix the object, then Sharavat Tanmayo Bhave, become absorbed in the object. So the arrow goes and only the object remains. That gives an indication what is the means and the end also. So now we find in the means, for the time being you have to be all with it, no half and half. This is what the Gita is teaching us constantly. Karmanyeva adhikara. Forget other things. You just be absorbed in the work or action. In fact, many a time, without knowing, we use the word cheaply and misuse in our life also the concepts attachment and detachment. They are very important. And all glory to Swami Sastrananda. You will find who is a comprehensive master who gives us the appropriate use of these things. So there is a small booklet. I think its name is Secret of Work or Work and its Secret. You will find people deeply and prematurely talking of detachment. If we examine where there is no attachment, how can detachment come? You find there are people who are always constitutionally averse to any kind of action. They would always prefer to be left away. And any action they handle, always unwillingly, with irritation and with a dissatisfaction, somehow or other, let it go, it is sooner, it is done, the better it is. This kind of attitude. Now, in that case where there is no attachment, the question of detachment will never come. Like a man who is never hungry, what does he understand the value of food? Only those who have really known what is hunger, they will know what is this value of food also. So similarly you find those who have attachment, then later on they will also know what is detachment also. Similarly in human life also, people with dry heart, no feeling, what do they know of detachment? So one who is able to love, he will be able to detach himself and know what the meaning is. And then again, one who is able to completely immerse himself in action, then later you see in his case will come detachment. So both are important. Now you find for the success of an action, attachment is necessary. But for the real joy and freedom of the individual, detachment is necessary. So both have to be used at the right time. Therefore, he alone is a complete and a man of perfection who can attach at will and detach at will. Therefore, we have to know, even when we take up an action, the moment we take up, we should be able to pursue it wholesale. But many people, they enter into it, but they become totally attached. They can never free themselves. Therefore, you find they forget themselves and forget the goal also. Therefore, partial attachment or partial detachment won't do. It has to be a right combination of both. So we have in this equation, there is the person who strives the sadhaka, then there is this action, sadhana, then there is the goal to be achieved called sadhya, and then when perfection is achieved, we call that person as siddha. In the Bhagavad Gita, you find at one stage, very beautifully it is shown. There are people who are beginners or who are trying to go up, climb up the path of yoga. Yoga is the path of perfection. It is called as a arurukshu, one he wants to climb up. So for such person, arurukshu mune yogam karma karanam uchyate. For them, action, activity, intense activity, full, dedicated, concentrated activity, single-minded activity is the path. You should be capable of it. Now, you find, but that is not, this karma is not the end. It has a particular stage. Then, as we say in the multi-stage rocket, this will have to be set out. Yoga rudhasya tasyeva. And when he has reached a particular stage of yoga, the very same person, for him, shamaha karanam uchyate. In his case, all that he has to do is he has to become quiet, calm, placid, and let go things also. Both are equally important. So when we have to let go, then we hold, and when we have to do, we let go, we will become double fools. So there is a process in which the aircraft will take off, and then a process in which it will land, and a process in which it will fly also. So there are different levels of mechanisms and then mechanical actions. So we find when a person reaches this goal, we call him a yogi, and he reaches freedom, mukti. Therefore, we have to remember there is a stage and time for activity, there is a stage and time for quietness, letting go. Perhaps you find even some of you who drive the car, because there is not much opportunity for that in Singapore, especially if you go to larger countries like the United States. When you start driving on the freeway, expressways, where many a time 60-70 miles, people will be there. The moment you want to enter, you have to enter with great tension and then get along, and within half a minute you have to accelerate to 60. There is no delay. If you delay, somebody will come and hit you. So you will do, you will adjust, you will do everything. Then, after a time, they will say when you get the right lane and then go. They say don't do any driving of the steering. Just keep quiet, only with the hand on the steering. Sometimes at best you see only one touch here or one touch there, nothing more. It will go, they say the car will drive by itself, don't drive. So you find in spiritual life also some of these stages will come. Therefore the first stage, as most of us are, it has to be total concentration in work. If we try to escape it, we will never go beyond our primary stage in our spiritual life. Premature detachment, premature renunciation. Renunciation now is must be of something what you have. Don't have anything, what are you going to renounce? That must be known. Therefore, prematurely it cannot be done. First have the capacity, then you see to dedicate to higher things. So for absorption in the karma, becoming able to become immersed in that work, to become fully attached to the work is important. Then we find at the right stage to be totally detached from that work and allow nature, especially what we call the higher nature, to work, to flow like an unobstructed river. That is the path. Therefore, first of all, constantly the Lord says, karmanyeva adhikara. To do that, then Shama will come, then that will lead you on ultimately to light, which is called as jnana. Also in some other context, we call it also buddhi. So the first person, the beginner, he has to put forth a lot of effort, and then he should struggle. After everything is done, his role is over. He must also know equally well to stop, to keep quiet and wait patiently, calmly, if need be, endlessly also. They say it's like an agriculture. And you have to go up and dig in the right time, do everything, put the seed. And after that is done, you have to keep quiet. Otherwise, if at that time you want to be active every day, you will go and then dig out and find out whether the seed is coming up. That won't do. But you cannot be lazy earlier on. Similarly, in our spiritual practice and prayer, when certain things have to be done, you do with all your might and main. But after that is over, we say, you have to endlessly and patiently wait, if need be for a lifetime. Both are necessary. Therefore, we find, with this, we have to keep in mind, what is the goal? The goal is that light of wisdom or knowledge, which is the same thing as the recognition of one's own divine nature, freedom. Then, later, if the body continues, you go on living and working in that consciousness. This is a new consciousness. Now we are working in darkness. We have no light. Or at best a very, very, very dimmer, faint and reflected light only. And when you get that full light, then that action will be different. We call them the great sages or saints, perfected people, ideal men. Naturally, their life and action, it has a different direction or beauty from what we do. Therefore, we find it is this consciousness, this light, which makes all the difference in our life. Therefore, our goal should be this light of wisdom or jnana or buddhi, not the karma itself, much less some other petty byproducts. This is the thing. Most of us are led or misled only by these petty byproducts, which belong to what we call external nature, which are transient, which go, which are always by nature having their plus and minus. If today they produce something good for you, tomorrow they are bound to produce the opposite. The very same friendship which will warm up the heart today, tomorrow will break the heart also. This is a constant process. Therefore, we are constantly warned. Look here. Never be misguided by these petty fruits. First concentrate on karma. But even karma is not the goal. Only the real goal is this wisdom or jnana, which you find ultimately the same thing as the love of God. The Bhagavad Gita declares to us, therefore, mere karma in itself, however good it may be at its level, comparatively is inferior, far inferior to this knowledge of buddhi. You find karma becomes valuable only when it stems from that jnana, or it leads you towards this jnana wisdom. Therefore, proceeding from light or going towards light, that karma is good. Otherwise, that karma is not good. It is not a blessing. So we come to the first sloka of today. Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya. So buddhi yoga. By this scheme of action where it is all based on light, karma, ordinary action is durena hi avaram, far, far inferior. Therefore, being a wise person, what you should do? Buddhau charanam anvicha. Therefore, you take refuge in buddhi or this knowledge or light. Let this be your goal, not the other thing. And people who go after only the petty fruits, petty gains, petty pleasures, kripanaha salahetavaha. So those who are motivated to action only by these small things, it has been used as kripana. Petty people, pitiable people, you see. You find especially for people of dignity, if the term is used, he is a pitiable person. His soul reacts like anything. It is pitiable because you find this man was capable of so many great things and then he is just going after the petty things. Now, as I told you, Bhagavad Gita has to be not simply for hearing only. As the Gita itself will say later, we have heard too much. Actually, hearing too much has become a disease with us. We have to hear less. Now, after hearing what we should do, we should try to apply in life. Where? So many opportunities. So you did not go to some holy place, either in India or Arabia or Jerusalem or somewhere. Where you are. When you begin an action, what is your motivation? Is it something petty or is it something high? Are you doing it for self-perfection, for some high goal, for the goal, or some petty thing? Suppose we are devotees. If we are not clear, we call ourselves devotees. Later on, you go to a place of worship or a holy place, so that, well, it will be an easier way to meet so and so there. Suppose you see some people even go, well, many people come there, it will be easier to find a match for my son or daughter there. So all these thoughts will be there. Well, you find if these things go like that, then we can never call ourselves as devotees or spiritual aspirants. No progress will be made, and forget about quoting the Gita or something. Similarly, I just want to do a little help to someone. It may be individual, it may be institutional. Why am I doing it? Is it for just the beautiful goodness of it? Or am I doing it for sort of a reverential love? Or is it there? Well, if I do this, I will get a little position in life. I will get a little more monetary gain, a little more prestige, a little more status. See, I can take my claim later on to a higher position in public life. If these things are the motivation, then it stands self-contempt. It won't come in the sphere of the Gita Shastra. Then anybody is free to do what they like, but it won't be covered by these things. And a person will become more and more bound only. He will not become free. So it says, the ordinary work and its fruit, they belong to a far inferior plane. Therefore, to go beyond, you must go to wisdom or knowledge and its fruits. What are the fruits of knowledge? It is freedom, it is joy, it is peace, it is fearlessness, it is love and manifested service. This is the one difference between a person who works for petty fruits and the other one. The one is really fearless. There is no fear in the heart and peace reigns. The other person will always have that fear will be there. Therefore, the ordinary karma and its fruits, what are the? Bondage, sorrow, fear, acquisition. Along with it will come selfishness more and more, and also pride and envy. You find when pride and envy come, then I may be a person who will be doing so many things. Other people may recognize me. Oh, he is doing a wonderful work. Maybe. They may appreciate it, good for them. But I find I myself will be developing inside pride. And then if somebody else does a little more, already you see envy. I find that I have already degraded myself. Therefore, mere karma in itself, you find that is of no value. The goal, the starting point and the end point are very important. What we call as mere karma, mere movement, action, you can call it just a transfer of mechanical energy, that's all. I am here today, I go there tomorrow. Things are here, you shift various combinations, and decompositions and arrangement of material things. That would be only karma. But this buddhi yoga, it transforms this mechanical karma into the light of knowledge, as we do even in physics or industry or anywhere else. You have the dirty coal. Out of that coal you will find when it burns up, light will come, so many other things will come. So, mere karma is transformed into spiritual energy. That is yoga. Ordinary karma is only a transfer. Here is a transformation. Now you find, for example, a small analogy. Now we have got paper. Then you can go on compiling paper very beautifully and keep stacks of it. It is mere paper. But when an intelligent, a creative person takes up and puts some matter into it, it becomes literature. Same paper. Where was the difference? You find it comes from the light. So similarly you find there may be pieces of broken stones which only an obstruction even. But next day you may see that where there is imagination, creativity and devotion, a magnificent temple and cathedral may come. Stone. But how? You find that buddhi behind. And I am reminded, the person, the great artist, was painting, and then finally the picture was sold. And they asked how much was it? It was about $10,000. And the person who went was a very, very down-to-earth businessman. He said, what is it? After all, you see, this canvas will cost $5. The chemicals, that paint which you have spent, will cost another $3. And then one day you have worked all right, even at this prevailing rate, will give you $50. Not $250. Why do you claim this? Yes, that is the artist. So you find the same cloth will become a painting when something else goes into it also. And similarly we find we have got so much of sound, including the sound of the pile driver and then this place and everything, how much you want to hide. But when the sound mixed into a beautiful thing, we call it a delightful or an inspiring music. Where did it come? Again you find you have to find the source. So similarly you find there is this mass of falling physical things and chemicals or flesh and other things. What makes a man or a human being out of it? Think for your life. That means make it the goal of your life, make it the starting point of your life, and let it be your life which will guide at every step also. Now you will understand when the third day is there, what difference it will make. You find some kind of a little food which may not be worth 2 cents. That way devotee becomes most valuable prasada. Why? It is the thought, it is that life behind. And similarly we find people go to some places very difficult to go, and then it is not merely a kind of a journey, they call it tirthyatra, the pilgrimage. In all these we find therefore it is that thought behind, that feeling behind, the light behind. Therefore let the divine light be the spirit in all these things. So we find when we have this buddhi, the right kind of buddhi, light of wisdom, we can see and evaluate things at their proper level and value. And we can also know what are the right values to be pursued in life. Now we do not know. Even if they are there, we cannot recognize. When things come, we cannot have a comparative value. A man with the right buddhi, he chooses rightly and he lets go the impermanent or transitory, unsubstantial things. It becomes his almost innate character, like an expert businessman. The moment you see, he will see something, he will immediately be able to upright. Whereas the other person may have to send it to the laboratory and other tests for 25 days. Deeply impressed by an incident which I read in the life of one great American doctor. I think his name is Dr. Ashrama. They get spelling that. He is a very great American doctor of the earlier days. So he had his own student, and one day at the hospital a case came there. And there was a baffling case. For 2 hours they struggled, this, that, so many things. And ordinary things all failed. In the end, they found it was a case of diphtheria. Very good. Then, as they were triumphantly, they have now found out. At that time, Dr. Ashrama walked in. He came from the car and got down, and then as they were taking off his coat as they were walking, he just said, I am smelling a case of diphtheria. That's all. Just within 1 second, you see, he found out what it was, whereas the other people had to work. So similarly, we find a mature spiritual mind, a truly holy man, not the spurious one. That he will be able to understand, evaluate things and persons almost instantly. This is the one important. So automatically you find that you will only do the right thing and discard whatever is only passing. Now, in our case, we come many a time we are often halfway. Many unsubstantial things come we go after. Sometimes we try to leave it. But we are deceived because they appear to be alluring. They appear to be urgent. But this man, no, however alluring it may be, however urgent they may sound, he said, no, nothing is doing. He only concentrates on lasting and substantial things. This is called a true viveka. Therefore, a true spiritual aspirant or devotee, which we aspire to be, should not be bothered, and he will not be bothered with lesser goals. It may be any kind of alluring pleasure, or it may be some kind of so-called suffering or pain. We want to avoid suffering or pain, we want to force pleasure. In his case, nothing will produce an effect on him. For him, it is only the eternal Lord and the love. And for the sake of that, he will put up with everything. Earlier we found in the Gita, the word used was Tam Titikshasva. You put up with these things, whether they are pain or pleasure. Therefore, for him, divine love or divine knowledge, that is the one thing. Everything else will go. Whereas lesser people will have naturally lesser goals. Who strive for pleasure, who pray also for pleasures in this world, are faring in a paradise also. This is, if you do not take care, another birth somewhere else. That is how in our mythologies or in our text has come your paradise or Indra, Swarga and so on, where you will go and have all kinds of enjoyment and then intensify suffering in Naraka or hell. That is also there. So you find people who believe in these things. They are mortally afraid of hell and then they want this heaven or Swarga. Therefore many prayers will say, the Vedas will say in one portion, do this you will go to Swarga and do that you will avoid Naraka. Therefore people will be just how to do this. Entire karma will be with that. But when you write prayer, you become a devotee or a man of knowledge, all these will go. Even hell or a heaven will not be able to distract you. There is a incident, there was a Sufi saint, very well known man, a great mystic. Then suddenly one day it was thought he was going in the street, not somewhat almost like a madman or wild, but was in one hand, you see, he had a bucket of water, and in the other hand he had a flaming torch just going about. Somebody asked, what are you doing? He said, I am going to set fire to heaven and I am going to quench the waters of hell with this bucket. That means people who just want to go after the so-called heaven, I will set fire to them. And those who fear hell, I will just pull on the fire. If not the past, forget this and go to God. So, we find in our own tradition, there is a beautiful prayer. I think it is from a extremely beautiful, famous, devotional work called Mukunda Mala, Kulshekara Alva. There it says, Diviva Bhuviva Mama Suvaso Narakaiva Narakandaka Prasamam Avadhirita Sharadaravindav Charanaude Maranepi Chintayam. It means, Lord, keep me in heaven or on earth, or if you wish, in hell. As you wish, completely, I have no choice at all. Wherever you keep me, even if you keep me in hell, what I want, what I will do is, your beautiful lotus feet, that will be the object of my worship, even unto death and in death. This is the true devotee. And then you will find what the great spiritual benefits and the joy and those things which come to them, that they alone will know. But the Bhagavad Gita is warning us, therefore, don't be bothered about the so-called meritorious actions which will take you to heaven and then other things which will take you to hell. Forget about all these things. Orient all your actions to the only one goal, namely the divine, God and His knowledge, God and His love. In short, it is as simple as that. Be a wise man. It says, Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukruta duskrute tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karma sukaucharam. Buddhi yukta, a man endowed with this wisdom. Iha, not sometime later, now itself, right in this life today. Ubhe sukruta duskrute. So both these so-called meritorious and otherwise deeds, he just discards, jahati, gives up. Therefore you, tasma, because of this, yogaya yujyasva, you dedicate yourself to the path of yoga, which leads you on to divine perfection. Yoga karma sukauchalam. And yoga indeed is dexterity, skill, cleverness in action. It is the best way to do an action, that is utilizing the action for the worthiest, the best benefit. So you find businessmen, when they invest money, they find when you invest something, it takes the biggest return, that is the best investment. Therefore, yoga is the best business. That point is to be understood also. Therefore, you find the man of wisdom, he does not simply label an action as it's a sukruta, it's a duskruta, it's a good deed, bad deed. Deeds in themselves are neither good nor bad. They are neutral. You find out any action, even so-called killing, in themselves you see they are neither good nor bad. But what is the motivation and what is the goal, that defines everything. I don't want to burden you with examples. You find out for yourself. The very same action today you find will be good for someone, will be bad for someone else. As simple as this, it is the rates of some commodity will rise in the market. Immediately you find the person who sells, he finds it a very good thing, Lord will bless. And the man who wants to buy, he will say, it has happened, why is the Lord so unfair? Same action. So similarly in our own life we find actions themselves are neutral, but it is up to us. Therefore, whatever it be, whatever comes to you, you be an intelligent person, a wise person. You convert both these good and bad actions into spiritual actions, and then you develop profit from both. Get a donation both from the thief as well as the policeman, you see, and prosper. This is real cleverness, or what we call chapuri. Making best use of all the forces of karma or of nature for achieving really worthwhile and lasting results. And all our scriptures say, what is the best work? Now this world is anitya, transient. Your body is anitya, transient. You never know when it will pass off. How best you can make use of this transient body and transient world, and yet realize what is eternal or nitya. the Gita, the Bhagavad and all, they beautifully they put this is making use of this temporary thing to achieve the permanent. Making use of the passing to get the permanent. And making use of death to achieve the immortal. Through mrityu, you go to amrita. That is the real cleverness. And through suffering, you go to lasting bliss or felicity. And all this is told by one word, God vision, God realization. Therefore, you find Sri Ramakrishna in his own direct way he says, the other day we were reading the gospel. Some people come and report to him. There was one session there where they had some kind of magic plate that will move towards this person and so on. Some Krishna laughed and said, "There are tricks." Afterwards he said, the real cleverness is the cleverness by which one realizes God. That trick is the best of all tricks. That is Chaturi. And the Bhagavata giving in another word. Towards the end of the message, the Krishna says there, Yesha buddhimatam buddhihi. Herein lies the wisdom of the wise. Manisha cha manishina. The cleverness of the intelligence. What is that? Yes, satyam anrutena iha. Here in this world, with this what you call passing and then very transient, fragile body, you realize the infinite, eternal. Matyena apnopi ma amrutam. This mortal man will realize me the immortal. That is the real cleverness. Therefore, our final lesson will be never be deluded or distracted by these petticoat issues of life, whether they are in the form of suffering or pain, fear, pleasure and another thing. And the Gita goes to the extent of saying, even if they are reinforced by quotations from the scriptures, don't listen. Let not people threaten you saying they are from the scriptures. Even if they say, even if it is from the Vedas, you say disregard these things. You should set your sight only on the eternal truth. Stick to it. Then as you stick to it, discarding this all kinds of hearsay from all quarters, whether sacred or secular, then your mind will gradually settle down. Now you are incapable of meditation. What to speak of samadhi? Because our mind is constantly distracted only by these things. It's for meditation. You will find in 2 minutes, in half a minute, where it will have gone. How to avoid some pain, how to get some pleasure. So this thing, that person. Therefore, meditation is a far cry from us. We just go and sit and struggle a little with our mind. This seated struggle. Therefore, if you want to succeed in meditation, first of all, discard all these things. Then the mind will gradually settle down. Then meditation will come. Not only that, even samadhi will be in your grasp. And with that, you will become established in yoga and become a yogi. Therefore, we find the Gita is saying, Karmajam buddhi yuktahi halam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gachanti anamayam. Endowed with wisdom, buddhi yukta. What does he do? Karmajam phalam tyaktva manishinaha. Intelligent person. All these petty results which come out of your action, he just leaves. Then, janma bandha vinirmukta. He gets himself freed from the bondage of nature, of the so-called endless birth and death. Simply going through this vain cycle. Then, padam gachanti anamayam. He gets to the status, that state, where there is no amaya. It's a beautiful word. What is that? There is no evil, or there is no illness. Illness. So we always find illness, disease, so on, doctors, institutions, mahatmas, curers, mantras. So you get a state where there is no illness at all. So here is the best mantra, the best tantra, the best everything. Therefore, for heaven's sake, what do you do? You devote yourself to this holy action, renounce all these petty proofs, then your success is assured, and you will become a man of intelligence. Karma phala, even if it is there, you just say, I do not care for it. The practice must be done. Intelligently, whenever we go to some any noble work, you just eschew petty things. Then secondly, when we go for worship, in all our worship, the mantras, in the end, you see they say, after doing the worship, all this phala, na mama, it does not belong to me. I just offer everything at the feet of the Lord. That should be practice. In the beginning, naturally, we want everything. Like children, they want to grab. Forcibly, we have to say to the mind, no. Therefore, they say in puja, when you worship, beautiful things are prepared. Then you find many people will be just waiting for the end of the worship because that is there. Now, many a time, the Lord's worship is very easy. Because you know for certain, whatever beautiful things you offer will come back. But if you want to worship a living God, it's difficult because you won't give the offering, nothing will come back. Now knowing all these things, in our traditions worship, there are certain rules. Many people do not know. You only know, go to the temple, you give something and it will come back and then you bring it. At least half is sure to come back. Now there they say, when you prepare the best thing for worship, you have to prepare the very best thing, and they say whatever is most likable to you, that you should offer. Then, when it is offered, they say, that prasadam should be distributed to others, and the worshipper should not himself take it. How deep this is carried. We do many a time. Why I like this, therefore let me in addition get a little merit also. Therefore place it before the Lord and grab it. Nothing will happen. Therefore we have to develop these. And hereafter the Gita says, for heaven's sake, what you have learned or what you have heard from secular and sacred sources about this phala, for heaven's sake, forget. And go across this flush of delusion caused by these distractions. Then only your mind will settle down. Yada te moha kalilam subuddhi veditarishyati sada gantasi nirvedam shrotam vyasya shutasya. Now, when your mind will go across this portion of slush of confusion, then you will attain to what is called real detachment. You will detach yourself from all that you have heard and all that you may hear in future also. Nobody will be able to distract you. Anybody may come and say, look here, you do this will happen, that will happen. You will smile and say, thank you, thank you. You do it yourself. So, in the end it concludes, Shruti vipratipannate yada tasthiti nityala samadhau achala buddhi kada yogam avapsati. Now at this stage, when so much of hearsay has unsettled your mind, distracted you, as I told you, it may be from secular sources or so-called sacred sources. Shruti vipratipanna te buddhihi, your intellect unsettled by these things. Yada hasthiti nityala achala, when it settles down, unwavering, steady in a particular object, which is the Lord within you, your own divine self, that is samadhi. Sada yogam avapsati. Then if the yoga is attained, you have become a yogi, not otherwise. So you find, you reach a stage of perfection. Some people will call you a perfect man. Now Arjuna is excited by it. So he is interested. This is the difference between spiritual aspirant and another. Others will hear and then in the end you see they just walk off. But those who are spiritual aspirants, whenever they hear, they light up and say they want to know more. And Arjuna wants to know more. He says, is that a perfect man? So suppose that one who is already well established in this kind of wisdom, who is called Sthita Prajna. How does he behave? What are his characteristics? So how does he talk? And then how does he work? How does he rest? All these things I want to know. He puts the question. So one more comes. Sita Prajnate Kamata, so and so on and so forth. They come, and then Sri Krishna's reply follows. It is one of the famous passages of the Bhagavad Gita, where it delineates who is the spiritually perfect man. That we shall take up in the weeks to come, as far as we are permitted by the Lord. Now, some 2 or 3 announcements I would have to make.
Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate giri yat kripatamaham vande paramanandamadhavam. Salutation to the Supreme Being who manifested in and through Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the very embodiment of sweetness and bliss, whose very thought is an inspiration, and whose grace makes us take up and achieve the seemingly impossible. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Salutation.